HFY Vanguard, where even 20 years of silence can't kill the human spark. He slept through time and woke to desire destiny and danger. The legend begins now. The first thing Aiden Reed felt was pain. Not sharp, not immediate, just a slow pulsing ache that spread through every cell as though his own body had forgotten how to exist. The second thing was the light, white, blinding, sterile. It cut through his eyelids like knives made of glass. Somewhere above him, a voice whispered soft and melodic, carrying an accent that sounded too precise to be human. "Careful, human. You've been asleep for a very long time." The words drifted into him like smoke. He tried to move and pain exploded down his spine. His throat scraped as if filled with dust. When he finally managed the sound, it came out as a cracked whisper. "Where am I?" Shapes began to form, smooth ceilings of pearl white metal, etched with patterns that glowed faintly blue. Machines hummed softly like distant thunder in a dream. A figure leaned over him, casting a silhouette haloed by sterile light. When his eyes adjusted, the breath caught in his chest. The woman, or what his mind registered as one, was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Her skin shimmered like the heart of a tropical sea turquoise with hints of violet. Short, snow-white hair framed a face too symmetrical, too radiant to belong to any human genome. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. Vast vertical pupils surrounded by glowing turquoise irises, studying him with both scientific detachment and something that looked dangerously close to compassion. "Don't move," she said. "You've been in cryostasis for 22 Earth years." He froze. 22 years? The words hit him like a punch. He glanced down, trying to see his own body, but what he saw made his breath stutter. His chest wasn't entirely his. Beneath translucent, regenerated skin, faint blue lines pulsed with a steady rhythm. Not vein circuits. His left arm shimmered faintly metallic under the skin. "What the hell did you do to me?" The alien woman hesitated. Her expression flickered between professionalism and guilt. "We repaired you. Your biological systems had begun failing during stasis. Your heart had ceased function. We used hybrid technology to stabilize you. Please don't be alarmed." Aiden laughed weakly. "Alarmed, lady? I've woken up after 2 decades to find I've got a glowing motherboard in my chest. I think alarmed is the baseline." Her turquoise eyes softened, and for the first time she smiled, small, hesitant, but real. Then perhaps terrified is the next step. He tried to sit up, but she pressed a cool blue hand against his chest. The touch sent a shock through him, not electrical, but instinctive, primal. Her skin radiated warmth, a living pulse that made the hair on his arms rise. "Easy," she murmured. "Your muscles have been maintained through electrostimulation, but they will need time. You're fragile." Aiden forced a grin. "You keep saying that, but something tells me you've never met a stubborn human before." "I have," she said softly. "Most of them are dead." That silenced him. For the first time, he noticed the low hum of air recyclers, the distant hiss of mechanical life beyond the med bay. He wasn't in any hospital he recognized. The architecture was smooth and alien, built by a species that loves symmetry more than comfort. And beyond the far viewport, there was darkness. Not the night of a city, but the infinite black of orbit. He saw the curve of Earth far below, blue and fragile. "You're in orbit," he breathed. "Yes," the woman's tone carried a quiet pride. "This is the Celestial Harmony, an interspecies medical station jointly operated between Azura and Earth." "Azura," he repeated, testing the name. "You're Azuran." She inclined her head. "Dr. Isara Nix, medical supervisor, Azuran sector. And you are Aiden Reed, pilot science officer, and the only recorded survivor of the Prometheus mission." Aiden's heartbeat, if it could still be called that, spiked. Prometheus. The name flooded his mind like a rising tide. He remembered flashes: the ship's long corridor, the vibration of an experimental FTL engine, the laughter of his crew before everything went white. "What happened to my ship?" he rasped. Isara hesitated again. Her expression shifted, the practiced calm of a medic, cracking slightly. "You were found aboard a derelict vessel drifting near Earth's outer orbit. The ship reappeared 3 weeks ago. It had been missing for over 20 years. You were the only one in cryostasis alive." Aiden sank back against the bed. 20 years. Everyone he knew, his family, his friends, his world gone or changed beyond recognition. He clenched his fists, feeling the faint buzz of synthetic nerves. So I'm a relic, a lab specimen you pulled from a coffin. Isara's voice softened. A survivor, not a specimen. You endured something no human ever has. A bitter laugh escaped him. Yeah, feels like I didn't come back human. She didn't answer. Instead, she tapped a holographic console above her wrist. Blue light flared across his body as the scanner hummed. He caught a glimpse of alien text scrolling rapidly, a mix of symbols and angular lines that made his head ache to look at. What are you checking for? Stability, she said without looking up. Your system is unusual. The hybrid graphs are functioning, but your neural patterns show irregularities. Irregularities, he repeated, like what brain damage? Her gaze met his, like interference. A shiver crawled down his spine. Interference from what? Isara didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned toward the viewport, her face haloed by the reflection of Earth's pale light. When she spoke, her voice was almost a whisper. That we don't yet know. For a moment, the medbay was silent except for the hum of machines. Then Aiden asked, almost pleading, "Can I at least get some water?" She touched a panel beside the bed and a compartment slid open with a soft hiss. A slender glass floated up filled with clear liquid. When she brought it to his lips, her movements were careful, reverent. The water was cool and impossibly pure. It felt like drinking from the heart of a glacier. Better, she asked. He nodded. Best damn drink I've ever had. Her lips curved slightly. That's because it's synthesized from molecular restructuring. No impurities, no earth microbes. Aiden smiled faintly. Guess I'll have to adjust. She tilted her head, curious. You say that like it's a strength. It is, he said, his voice steadier now. Humans adapt. That's what we do. For a fleeting instant, her turquoise eyes shimmered with something that looked like admiration. Then her expression returned to clinical calm. You should rest, Aiden Reed. Your rehabilitation begins tomorrow. I'll be your primary caretaker. Lucky me, he murmured, managing a crooked grin. 20 years in the dark, and I wake up to find the universe run by beautiful aliens. To his surprise, her cheeks darkened to a deeper blue, a blush. You shouldn't flirt with your doctor. I thought you were a supervisor. Semantics, she said, turning away. Rest now. As she moved toward the exit, the soft blue glow of the chamber reflected along the smooth contours of her form-fitting uniform. For a moment, Aiden forgot the circuits beneath his own skin. He forgot the void outside. He only saw her, the strange, radiant creature who had pulled him from oblivion. When the lights dimmed and the room fell into night mode, Aiden lay back staring at the faint glow beneath his chest. He could hear his new heart pulsing, not quite mechanical, not quite organic. Somewhere deep in the rhythm, he thought he heard something else. A whisper, a pulse that wasn't his own. You brought me through. His eyes snapped open, heart pounding in mechanical rhythm. The voice had been faint, distant, but real. His gaze darted to the viewport where the earth hung suspended like a blue jewel in a black ocean. And beyond it, just for a second, something moved in the dark. A flicker of light like an eye opening. He didn't know why, but he knew it was looking at him. And he wasn't sure it ever stopped. 3 days passed before Aiden could stand without the room spinning. Every morning, Azara appeared at his bedside with silent precision, a tablet in one hand, a faint blue glow trailing from her wrist display. Her movements were mechanical, almost ritualistic. Check vitals, scan neural stability, adjust his nutrient flow. Yet every now and then, her eyes lingered on him a second too long, as if she were studying more than his recovery. When she spoke, it was always measured, controlled. Flex your fingers. Again. Good. Now look at me. He did, and for an instant, something flickered behind those turquoise eyes. Worry guilt. He couldn't tell. Your motor control's returning faster than expected, she noted almost to herself. Typical human anomaly. Anomaly, Aiden repeated, smirking. You make it sound like a compliment. It is, mostly. She turned away, hiding what might have been a smile. The recovery suite overlooked the earth. But Aiden noticed that every window had a transparent grid running through it, some kind of energy barrier. The station looked peaceful from afar, yet he could sense the tension underneath security drones drifting like silent sharks, hallways locked by authorization codes. the faint hum of power conduits that sounded defensive. "Isara," he said one morning, as she adjusted a console, "what aren't you telling me?" She didn't look up. "Define what?" "The way you flinch every time I mention the Prometheus. The way your voice tightens when you say recovered vessel." Her shoulders tensed. "You need rest, not conspiracy theories." "Rest doesn't stop the nightmares," he said quietly. "Every time I close my eyes, I see light, blue and white, and then nothing. Then a voice, something whispering, 'You brought me through.'" At that, she finally turned. Her eyes widened slightly, and the tablet froze midair in her hand. "You remember that phrase?" Aiden frowned. "You know it." Her silence answered for her. The air between them thickened until it felt like the station itself was listening. Then she said almost too softly, "That phrase appears in the incident logs, the final entry recorded by the Prometheus AI." He stared at her. "You have the log." She hesitated, fingers twitching toward her wrist pad, then stopped. "That data is classified at the highest level, even for me." "But you've seen it," Aiden pressed. Her jaw tightened. "Enough to know the FTL jump was not a malfunction. Something answered your signal." His pulse quickened. "Answered. You mean we weren't alone out there?" "Not in any way you understand," she said. "And if you're hearing the voice now, it means—" She trailed off, then spun away, clearly battling herself. "It means you need to keep quiet. Do you understand me, Aiden Reed? Don't speak of this to anyone." Her sudden intensity startled him. "Why, who's going to care about an old ghost transmission?" Isara leaned in close, her voice a whisper. "Because someone does, and they will come for you if they think you remember." That night, Aiden couldn't sleep. The station's lights dimmed to a soft azure glow as the night cycle engaged, but his mind wouldn't quiet. He sat by the viewport watching Earth turn beneath him, so close yet utterly out of reach. He wondered what had become of his family. His brother Alex would be middle-aged now if he was even alive. The world he knew was gone, his friends, his time, his purpose erased while he slept. Footsteps approached. He didn't turn. "I thought you said I should rest." "I should say many things," Isara replied quietly. Her reflection appeared beside his in the glass. She had changed out of her uniform into a simple silver robe that caught the light in strange ways. He half smiled. "Do all your patients get personal nighttime check-ins?" "Only the ones whose neural patterns destabilize when they dream." Her tone was cool, but her gaze was not. Up close, her eyes glowed like bioluminescent seas, and Aiden realized how alien and beautiful she truly was, and how human he still felt around her. "Tell me the truth," he said. "Did you know about the Prometheus before I woke up?" Isara's hand tightened around the railing. After a long moment, she whispered, "I was on the team that studied your ship 5 years ago." He snapped his head toward her. "You said it was found 3 weeks ago." Her face stayed still as ice. That was the official statement. "So for 5 years you've been lying to Earth, to everyone." Her voice was barely audible. "The Prometheus was in our possession under orders from the Azuran High Council. Your ship's hull was marked with symbols we could not decipher, and the drive core contained materials that should not exist in this dimension. We were afraid of what we'd found, afraid of what you might bring with you if you woke." Her words hit like a knife. "So what am I to you? A research subject, a host for some alien infection?" "No," she snapped, stepping closer. "You're alive because of me. I defied orders to revive you. If the council discovers I've told you this, they'll erase my position, perhaps my existence." Aiden searched her face, seeing for the first time the fear beneath her professional mask. It wasn't just duty that drove her, it was something personal, something haunting. "Why take that risk?" he asked quietly. "You could have kept me frozen forever." She met his eyes, and for the first time, her voice cracked. "Because when I looked at you in that cryopod, I felt something staring back. Not the entity you. You were still fighting to breathe after 20 years of silence. I wanted to know why." The room fell silent. The hum of machines faded beneath the rush of his own blood. He took a step closer. "So now what happens? You keep me a secret. Pretend this never happened." "I try to protect you," she said, "but it may already be too late." Before he could ask why, the door chimed and slid open with a hiss. Two humans in military uniforms stepped inside. Their badges bore the emblem of Earth's Unified Space Command. Commander Aiden Reed said the older one, a stern man with silver hair. General Harris, this is Major Nielsen, Intelligence Division. We need to speak with you alone. Isura's eyes narrowed. He is under medical supervision. Harris ignored her. That will be all, Doctor. Aiden intervened. She stays. The general hesitated, then shrugged. Your choice, Captain. Aiden caught the title and frowned. I was a commander. Not anymore, Nielsen said with a smirk. You were posthumously promoted. Consider it retroactive recognition for a mission that never officially happened. The conversation turned cold. They questioned him about the Prometheus, the drive, the jump. He told them what he could remember, which was almost nothing. Their eyes said they didn't believe him. Finally, Harris leaned forward. Captain Reed, you're a living anomaly. Your ship vanished into a region of space we can't define, then reappeared 20 years later. We need to know where it went and what it brought back. I told you I don't remember. Then we'll help you remember, Nielsen said smoothly. There's a facility on Earth equipped for neural reconstruction. Voluntary, of course. Aiden laughed bitterly. Voluntary meaning you'll drag me there if I say no. The Major's smile didn't reach his eyes. Let's call it a strong recommendation. Isara stepped forward. This man is not your property. He is under Azuran protection until we decide otherwise. Harris snapped. Don't test our patience, Doctor. The two officers left a few minutes later, leaving the room buzzing with unspoken threats. Aiden exhaled slowly. Well, that was subtle. They'll be back, Isara said. They always come back when they want something. He looked at her. Then we better decide what they're not getting. She met his eyes, and for a moment the clinical barrier between them broke. There was fear there and something else connection. You don't trust them, he said. I don't trust anyone who claims to act for the greater good, she replied. Not humans, not my own kind. So who do you trust, he asked. She looked at him for a long time. You, for now. The lights dimmed again as the station shifted to night cycle. Outside the viewport, Earth's curve glowed faintly blue. Aiden stood beside her in silence. Somewhere out there, his world was moving on without him. And somewhere in the dark between stars, something was waiting for him to remember. The next morning, Aiden woke to the cold gleam of the medbay's lights and the sinking realization that he was being watched. A small hovering drone no larger than his fist lingered near the ceiling. Its single blue lens tracked his every motion, whirring softly as he sat up. He scowled. Guess privacy's not part of the recovery package. From the adjacent room, Asara's voice came calm but taut. It's protocol. After your meeting with Earth Command, they installed new surveillance units. I tried to object, and they overruled me. Aiden swung his legs off the bed muscles, stiff but functional. Remind me again who runs this station, the Azurans or Earth? Her silence was his answer. When she entered the room, her usual composure was strained. She carried a folded gray uniform and placed it at the edge of his bed. They've requested you wear this for your upcoming debriefing. Aiden eyed the outfit. The design was human, but subtly altered military cuts, blended with alien material, a hybrid fabric that shimmered like smoke. Looks like they couldn't decide if they're dressing a soldier or a specimen. You could refuse, she said, though that might accelerate the transfer order. Transfer order. Her gaze flicked up, hesitant. They intend to relocate you to an Earth facility within 48 hours. Aiden laughed under his breath. Of course they do. Wouldn't want their miracle survivor unsupervised by aliens. Isara moved closer, lowering her voice. Aiden, you must understand, there are factions on both sides that fear what you represent. Earth's military sees opportunity. My government sees contamination. You're the center of a tug of war neither of us can control. He studied her face, the curve of her jaw, the tension in her expression. She looked exhausted, haunted. And what about you? Which side are you on? Isara met his gaze without flinching. I'm on yours. He wanted to believe that. God, he did. But trust was a currency he couldn't afford anymore. The debriefing chamber was a sterile amphitheater, half metal, half translucent, crystal, humming with unseen energy. Two guards stood at attention beside the door, their armor bearing the insignia of the Earth Unified Space Command. General Harris waited at the central console, his expression carved from stone. Captain Reed, he greeted, voice flat. Aiden took the seat opposite him, still getting used to that title. You earned it, Harris said, though it sounded like an accusation. Major Nielsen stood behind the general, arms folded. Let's make this simple. We want details on what happened aboard the Prometheus. Every second, every anomaly, every memory. Aiden leaned back. You'll get what I remember, which isn't much. That's convenient, Nielsen muttered. Harris gestured toward a small device on the table, circular, sleek, pulsing faint blue. This will assist. A cognitive resonance scanner. It maps your subconscious responses during questioning. Harmless. Aiden snorted. That's what they always say before the needles come out. It's voluntary, Harris said. And if I say no, then the Azuran Council might take it as proof you're hiding something. The words hung in the air like a blade. Aiden's jaw clenched. You're threatening to hand me over to them. Not a threat, Harris said coldly. A reality. The machine activated with a low hum. Blue light spiraled upward, enveloping Aiden in a haze of shifting geometry. Questions came fast. Coordinates, crew names, mission objectives, then images. Flashing light screams the Prometheus twisting apart, a hole in space swallowing the stars. He jerked upright, gasping. Stop, stop the damn thing. Isara, who had been observing from the upper deck, rushed down. That's enough. His neural graphs can't handle this stimulation. Harris didn't move. He's stable. He's human, she snapped. Something primal surged through Aiden at the tone of her voice, protective, fierce, desperate. He slammed a fist on the table. The metal bent inward with a hollow crack. Everyone froze. The blue circuits under his skin glowed. For several seconds, no one breathed. Then Harris murmured, "Oh, that explains the Azuran's interest." Aiden stared at his hand, horrified. What the hell did you do to me? Isara placed herself between him and the generals. He's not dangerous. He's unstable because you forced memory synchronization. Harris's gaze was cold steel. You've known about this, haven't you, Doctor? Isara hesitated. I've monitored fluctuations, nothing more. Then you've been negligent, Nielsen said sharply. Or complicit. Aiden stood, fury boiling. You accuse her again, and I'll show you just how unstable I can get. The guards tensed, but Harris raised a hand. Enough. Dismissed. As they left the chamber, Aiden muttered, They're not after answers. They're after ownership. Isara's voice was quiet but trembling. I told you they fear what they can't control. Hours later in the private med suite, the atmosphere felt heavier. Aiden paced restlessly, the faint blue glow beneath his veins pulsing brighter whenever he got angry. I don't get it, he muttered. I feel fine one minute, then like my head's going to explode the next. What's happening to me? Isara studied a holographic readout hovering in the air. Your neural network is synchronizing with residual data fragments embedded in your cellular graphs. It's as though something encoded information inside your DNA. Aiden frowned. Information like what? Unknown patterns, non-human structure, possibly linguistic. You're saying my body's carrying alien code. She looked up at him, not alien, extra-dimensional. The word chilled him to the core. What does that even mean? Isara hesitated, then walked closer until they were only a breath apart. It means whatever you encountered out there didn't just change your ship. It changed you. You brought part of it back. He wanted to argue to deny it, but deep down he already knew. The whispers, the lights under his skin, the sense that something vast was watching from the void it all fit. He exhaled shakily. So what happens now? I'm supposed to let Earth carve open my head to study it. No, she said, voice fierce. You're supposed to live, to choose what to do with what's inside you. The intensity in her gaze caught him off guard. For a moment, she wasn't a scientist or a soldier, just a woman standing at the edge of something forbidden. You sound like you care, he said softly. Her jaw tightened. I shouldn't. But you do. Silence stretched between them. Finally, she whispered, humans and Azurans don't bond. Not like this. It's against every regulation I swore to uphold. Aiden stepped closer. I've already broken half the laws of physics. What's one more? Her breath hitched. For a second, she didn't move. Then she did something that shattered the distance between them. She reached up and touched the glowing lines on his chest. The circuits flared brighter at her touch, casting blue light across her face. He felt her warmth through his skin, the hum of energy where organic met artificial. For one dizzying heartbeat, it felt like their bodies were speaking in a language older than words. Then chime. The door hissed open. Dr. Nick said a cold voice. Step away from the subject. Two security officers stood there, flanking a stern Azuran male in obsidian robes. His forehead bore the triple star sigil of the High Council. Isara stiffened. Counselor Varen. You've overstepped your authority, Varen said icily. The human is to be transferred immediately to Azuran custody. Prepare him. Aiden stepped forward. Like hell. The counselor's gaze flicked toward him, cold assessing. Curious. The hybrid shows assertive defiance typical of lower species. Dangerous. Say that again, Aiden growled. Isar interjected quickly. Please, he's disoriented. You can't just... I can, Varen snapped. By decree of the High Council, you will obey or face sanction. For a heartbeat, the room trembled with tension. Then Isara did something no one expected. She turned off her wrist console and deactivated her security clearance. The lights in the room dimmed instantly. No, she said, not this time. Varen's eyes flared. You would defy your own government for a human. Isara's voice shook, but her resolve didn't, for him. Before anyone could react, she tapped a hidden command on the medbay panel. A wave of electromagnetic interference rippled outward, short-circuiting the surveillance drones. Sparks filled the air. Aiden grabbed her hand. What the hell did you just do? Bought us 2 minutes, she said. Run. They burst into the corridor as alarms began to wail across the celestial harmony. Red lights flashed, and over the intercom came the cold voice of Varen. Security breach in medical wing. Capture the human alive. The doctor is expendable. As they sprinted through the labyrinth of glowing corridors, Aiden realized one brutal truth trust was dead. Alliances were lies, and the only person he could rely on was running beside him. And maybe, just maybe, she was worth every law he was about to break. The emergency klaxons bled into the rhythm of his heartbeat as Aiden and Azura tore through the station's underpass. The corridors pulsed red with warning lights, and somewhere behind them, metallic footsteps echoed like approaching thunder. Left, Azura shouted, slamming her palm against a panel. A door hissed open, leading into a dimly lit maintenance conduit filled with humming conduits and steam. Aiden ducked inside, chest heaving. Where are we even going? Down, she said. Security protocols will lock every deck, but the maintenance shafts link directly to the lower ring. From there, we can access shuttle docks. And then what? They've probably locked the damn station down. Isara shot him a sharp look, her face glowing faintly under the crimson light. You'd rather stay and let them dissect you. He couldn't argue with that. They kept moving. The conduit curved sharply, narrowing into a crawl space. As Aiden followed her, he caught himself watching the way the light shimmered along her skin, the subtle glowing veins that traced beneath her surface. Each movement seemed charged with energy, as if her body itself was reacting to the crisis. He shook the thought away. Focus. After several tense minutes, they dropped into a silent observation bay. The room was dark, filled with rows of inactive terminals and a single viewport staring into the endless black. Rest, she said, her breath unsteady. We can't risk moving until the sensors reset. Aiden slumped against the wall, running a trembling hand through his hair. You realize you just threw away your career. I realized it the moment you touched my hand, she murmured. He looked up sharply. Her eyes met his, shimmering like twin galaxies. The noise of the alarms faded behind the sudden quiet between them. What are you? He whispered, unable to stop himself. Her lips curved bittersweet. A doctor, a traitor, a fool. I mean, really, he said. You're not like the others. When I look at you, I don't just see an alien. I see something, alive in a way that feels familiar. She hesitated, then sat beside him. That's because we're not as different as you think. Our genetic line was engineered thousands of years ago, long before humanity's dawn. Some believe we share the same ancient origin. Aiden frowned. Common ancestors between humans and Azurans. Perhaps, she said softly. Perhaps not, but whatever connects us, it's more than DNA. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then a sharp pain sliced through Aiden's skull. He gasped, clutching his head as light flashed behind his eyes. Aiden Asar's voice blurred. Talk to me. He heard another voice, deep, resonant, layered like a chorus. It wasn't human. You carried us through the breach. You tore the veil, little flame. And now, we burn together. His body convulsed. Blue light surged through the veins in his arms, matching the glowing circuits in his chest. The entire room flickered as if reality itself trembled. Isara grabbed his face between her hands. Listen to me. You have to fight him. I can't, he gasped, his voice breaking into static. She pressed her forehead to his eyes, glowing brighter. Then don't fight alone. Something snapped between them, not physical, not mental, but real. A pulse of energy rippled outward, shaking the consoles. The pain in Aiden's mind twisted, then focused. He saw flashes of impossible geometry, a swirling maw of stars, something vast and ancient looking through him. When the surge finally faded, Aiden collapsed into her arms. Both were trembling. What was that? He rasped. Isara looked pale, her glow dimming. Contact. You didn't just hear it. You connected to it. He shuddered. The voice. It knew me. It called me Little Flame. She pulled back, her eyes wide. That phrase exists in our oldest records. The Little Flame was a term used in Azuran myth describing a being that brings light from beyond creation. We thought it was metaphor. Yeah, well, I'm no metaphor, Aiden muttered. I'm a guy with a cosmic parasite in his brain. Isara's hand trembled as she reached toward his chest, tracing the faint light beneath his skin. It's not a parasite. It's information awareness trying to rewrite you. Rewriting me into what? She didn't answer. For a long time, the only sound was their breathing and the distant hum of the station. Finally, Aiden said quietly, You're afraid of me now. I'm afraid for you, she corrected. You're becoming something neither of our species understands. He met her gaze. You should leave me then. Save yourself. Her fingers tightened on his arm. I didn't betray my people to abandon you halfway. He gave a weary laugh. You're insane. Probably, she said, but so are you. Their laughter died almost immediately, replaced by the quiet gravity of their proximity. She was close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her body, smell the faint metallic sweetness of her scent. Isara, her hand brushed his jaw, feather-light. Your neural frequencies are still unstable, she whispered, but physical contact helps regulate. He kissed her before she could finish. For a heartbeat, she froze. Then her fingers slid to the back of his neck, and she kissed him back with a hunger that had nothing to do with medicine. Her skin was warmer than fire. The light between them pulsed faster, brighter, until it painted the room in shades of azure and gold. For Aiden, the moment felt infinite, a merging of two beings that were never meant to meet, yet somehow fit perfectly. When they finally parted, both were breathing hard. A thin current of energy still danced where their skin met. Isara's voice trembled. That was irregular. Yeah, Aiden murmured. Let's call it therapy. But then her expression darkened. Aiden, while you were under, I felt something else. It wasn't just us. It was watching. The room seemed colder suddenly. The entity, she nodded, it reacted to our connection, like it was curious or jealous. Aiden rubbed his temples. Perfect. I'm in a love triangle with a cosmic god. Isara didn't smile. You joke, but it's no trivial matter. Whatever it is, it wants more than observation. It wants contact. And what happens if it gets it? She looked away. Then neither of our universes will survive it. The sound of distant boots interrupted the moment, muffled but unmistakable. Security patrols were sweeping the decks again. Isara straightened, professionalism snapping back into place. We have to move. Wait, Aiden said, catching her hand. Tell me the truth. Did you know this thing was still inside me before you woke me? Her silence was answer enough. You did, he said bitterly. I had to, she admitted. The council ordered me to monitor it. They believed you might hold the key to communicating with the entity or destroying it. So I'm a weapon, he muttered. Everyone wants to own the monster in my head. Her eyes softened. Not everyone. He wanted to hate her. He couldn't. Come on, she said. There's a secondary lift near the reactor conduit. It'll take us to the hangar faster. As they moved, the voice returned softer this time, intimate whispering through the static of his thoughts. You merge. You create patterns of warmth. This is new. He stumbled, nearly collapsing. It's talking again. What is it saying? Isara demanded. He swallowed hard. It's curious about love. That stopped her cold. It's learning through you. Before he could answer, the corridor erupted in alarms. A drone swarm dropped from the ceiling, forming a net of electric light. Aiden grabbed Isara, pulling her behind a bulkhead as the nearest drone fired a stun pulse that scorched the wall beside them. We're out of time, she yelled. I noticed. He turned rage boiling through his veins, and the lights under his skin flared brighter than ever. The drones froze midair. One by one, their systems shorted out and fell smoking to the floor. Isara stared breathless. You did that. Aiden looked at his trembling hands still glowing faintly. No, he said softly. We did. Because in that moment, he realized he could still feel her pulse in his head, in his chest, like their bodies were linked beyond touch. The entity's whisper echoed again low and almost satisfied. You are becoming. Aiden met Isara's gaze, fear and awe colliding in his chest. Whatever's happening, it's not done with us yet. The klaxons roared through the corridor, a metallic scream that sent tremors through every bulkhead of the celestial harmony. Red light washed over Aiden and Isara as they ran, shadows of their bodies flickering across the curved walls. Security to lockdown in progress, the automated voice repeated, cold and mechanical. All unauthorized personnel will be detained. Aiden's lungs burned, but adrenaline kept him moving. They're going to cut us off. Isara sprinted ahead, her movements graceful and inhumanly fast. Not if we reach the lower transit tunnel first. They turned a corner, straight into a squad of armored guards. Down, Isara shouted. She grabbed Aiden's arm and yanked him behind a support beam just as the guards opened fire. Blue stun rounds exploded against the walls, sparking like miniature lightning storms. Aiden cursed under his breath, scanning the corridor. A damaged service conduit hung overhead, leaking sparks. Cover your eyes, he barked. Before she could question him, he grabbed a broken cable and jammed it against the metal flooring. A blinding flash filled the corridor. Electricity cascaded down the walls, shorting the guards' visors and dropping them like puppets whose strings had been cut. When the air cleared, Isara stared at him in stunned silence. You improvised an electromagnetic pulse with your bare hands. He shrugged, chest heaving. Guess the upgrades come with perks. Or consequences, she muttered. Move. They tore through the fallen guards and into a vertical lift shaft. The floor beneath them vibrated, security drones deploying across the decks. Where exactly are we going? Aiden demanded as they climbed down a maintenance ladder. To Dock 7, Isara replied. The Prometheus is stored there. He froze mid-rung. The Prometheus, my ship. She glanced up at him. It was transferred here from Azuran custody last week. Earth Command demanded full access for analysis. You mean they've been taking it apart? Yes, she said grimly. And they failed. The ship's systems reject any interface that isn't keyed to your biometrics. Meaning Aiden realized I'm the only one who can fly it. Her lips curved faintly. Exactly. They reached the bottom of the shaft and slipped into a narrow maintenance corridor that hummed with power. Aiden's new senses picked up every vibration, every change in energy flow, like his body had become a tuning fork for the station itself. Isara noticed his silence. What is it? I can feel the power grid, he said. Every surge, every pulse. It's like the ship's talking to me. Then listen carefully, she said. It might keep us alive. They emerged into the docking bay. The space stretched before them like a cathedral of metal, and light towering cranes suspended walkways, and the hulking silhouette of Prometheus anchored in the center. Even scarred and half dismantled, the ship radiated power. Its hull gleamed dark silver, engraved with alien markings that glowed faintly blue. Aiden stopped dead, emotion flooding his chest. She's beautiful. She was, Isara corrected softly. Now she's something else. They crossed the catwalk toward the airlock, but Aiden's instincts screamed too late. A dozen soldiers stepped from behind the scaffolds, rifles trained on them. End of the line, barked General Harris, emerging from the shadows. You've caused enough damage, Captain. Aiden's jaw clenched. You just couldn't let it go, could you? The Prometheus is classified property, Harris said, and whatever's inside your head belongs to Earth. Isara stepped forward. You can't control what's inside him. Maybe not, Harris said, but we can contain it. He raised his hand. The soldiers aimed. Aiden's mind raced. The air shimmered faintly around the ship, and for the first time he realized that Prometheus was awake, responding to his presence. He whispered, Emma, if you can hear me, open the airlock. A voice crackled through the bay speakers, feminine, broken, but alive. Welcome back, Captain Reed. The bay lights dimmed. Sirens screamed as the Prometheus's systems came online, flooding the chamber with electric blue light. What the hell, Harris began, but the words were drowned out by the ship's thrusters powering up. Aiden seized Isara's hand and ran. Bullets ricocheted around them as the magnetic clamps disengaged with a deafening clang. They dove through the airlock, just as the outer doors slammed shut behind them. The sound of gunfire faded, replaced by the low hum of life returning to steel. Inside the corridors of the Prometheus were dark, dust-choked, and strangely alive. Energy rippled through the walls like the heartbeat of a sleeping beast. Emma Aiden said, "Status report. Operating at 43% capacity. Systems partially restored. Unauthorized modifications detected." "Those would be Azuran interfaces," Isara said. "We tried to integrate our systems with yours. It didn't go well." "Understatement," Aiden muttered, brushing his hand over the control panel. To his surprise, the console lit beneath his touch lines of alien and human code merging in a cascade of symbols. "Emma, seal the ship and activate privacy protocols." "Acknowledged. All external access terminated." The hum of the engines deepened, and the distant pounding of the station's security forces faded as blast doors sealed around the docking clamps. Isar looked around, awe softening her voice. "It recognizes you." "It should," he said, his voice low. "I built half these systems." She raised an eyebrow. "Half of this, don't be modest." Aiden smirked faintly. "Okay, maybe 70%. He moved to the bridge. The command deck flickered to life, holographic displays rising like ghosts around them. "Emma," he said, "prepare for launch. Main propulsion offline. Auxiliary thrusters functional. Estimated escape velocity limited." "Limited's better than dead." He settled into the captain's chair. The feel of it, cold metal-worn leather, was like shaking hands with an old friend. Isara slid into the seat beside him, pulling up a console. "I can override local sensors to mask our heat signature. It'll give us 2 minutes before they realize we're moving. That's 2 more than we need." She gave him a look that was equal parts admiration and disbelief. "You really think we can fly this thing out under full lockdown?" He grinned. "Watch me." The ship vibrated as the docking clamps disengaged. The bay outside erupted in chaos, soldiers shouting alarms, wailing. Aiden's hands moved across the controls, half memory, half instinct. "Emma, divert power from life support to maneuvering thrusters. Warning oxygen depletion imminent." "Just do it." The thrusters roared. The Prometheus shuddered, then surged forward, ripping free of the station's magnetic field. The sudden acceleration threw them back against their seats as the docking bay vanished in a blaze of fire. Outside, space opened like an ocean of black glass. "We're clear," Isara shouted, exhilaration in her voice. "Not yet," Aiden said. "They'll send interceptors any second." As if on cue, the radar lit with multiple signatures. Isara cursed in her native tongue. "Azuran defense drones, fast, autonomous, and heavily armed." "Sounds familiar," Aiden said grimly. "Let's see if old Emma still remembers how to dance." He jerked the control yoke hard to the left. The Prometheus spun thrusters, flaring, dodging the first barrage. Plasma streaks illuminated the void like burning comets. "2 on our tail," Isra warned. Aiden's hands flew over the console. "Emma, deploy decoy field." Decoy field active. Streams of electromagnetic interference burst from the rear of the ship, scattering radar signatures. The pursuing drones veered off course, confused for precious seconds. Aiden exhaled sharply. "That buys us a minute." "Where do we go?" He hesitated. Then a pulse and instinct, not thought, flashed in his mind. A set of coordinates burned behind his eyes, alien symbols twisting into human numbers. He didn't know what they meant, but somehow he knew where they led. "Emma," he said slowly, "plot a course to these coordinates." Isar looked at him uneasy. "Aiden, where did those come from?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But they're calling me." Her eyes widened. "The entity." "Maybe," he said. "But if it wanted me dead, I'd already be gone." The engines rumbled. "Course locked," Emma confirmed. Aiden reached for Isara's hand, his voice low but certain. "Hold on." As the Prometheus ignited its emergency thrusters, a ripple of blue light enveloped the ship. Space folded around them, the stars stretching into impossible ribbons. The last thing Aiden saw before the jump consumed them was the celestial harmony shrinking into a pinprick of red light and the reflection of Isara's glowing eyes watching him with both fear and something dangerously close to faith. Then the universe tore open and they were gone. The jump tore through reality like a scream. For a moment, Aiden thought his body was dissolving atoms, unthreading, soul pulled through glass. Then as suddenly as it began, the storm was over. The Prometheus drifted in silence. Outside, a blue-green planet loomed large, its atmosphere glowing beneath twin suns. Orbital rings shimmered with human-built stations, while flashes of silver hinted at human ships moving in tight formations. Aiden's hands trembled on the controls. Emma, where the hell are we? Coordinates correspond to the Epsilon Aerodani system, the AI replied. Approximate distance from Earth, 10.6 light-years. Detecting human transmissions. Isara leaned forward, eyes wide. That's impossible. There was no colony here 20 years ago. Aiden stared at the surface of the planet, verdant continents, oceans of cobalt blue, and vast megastructures dotting the horizon. Looks like humanity's been busy while I was taking my nap. A comm beacon pinged across the console. Emma automatically translated the signal, patching through to audio, and then visual. The hollow display flickered to life, revealing a man in his 40s, uniformed, sharp-eyed, and carrying himself with the confidence of command. His hair was streaked with gray at the temples, but his eyes hit Aiden like a punch to the chest. Unidentified vessel. This is Epsilon Defense Command. Power down and prepare to be boarded. The man froze mid-sentence. His jaw slackened. Aiden's heart stuttered. The silence stretched for a heartbeat before the man's voice broke, choked with disbelief. You're alive. Last I checked, Aiden said, smiling weakly. My God, Alex whispered. They said the Prometheus was gone for good. That you were gone. Yeah, well, Aiden said, voice rough. Took the scenic route. Alex blinked rapidly, then barked an order off screen. Open Dock 1, bring them in, now. The transmission cut. Isara glanced at him. Your brother. He nodded, still stunned. He was 19 when I left. Now he's older than me. Relativity, she murmured. Cruelest law in the universe. The ship descended through the planet's atmosphere, streaking through cloud layers that glowed orange under twin sunlight. Below, the human colonies stretched in every direction, sleek domes of silver and glass, solar spires, and sprawling green biocorridors, where forests grew inside transparent walls. Aiden whispered they built paradise. Or learned to fake it, Isara said quietly. The Prometheus landed with a hiss of pressure in a reinforced docking bay surrounded by armed guards. The moment the airlock opened, Aiden was face to face with the brother he hadn't seen in 2 decades and yet had never stopped picturing. Alex Reed stood tall, his uniform bearing the insignia of a high-ranking officer in the Colonial Defense Authority. His face was harder now, etched with the weight of leadership. But when he saw Aiden step down the ramp, all protocol evaporated. He crossed the distance in 3 strides and pulled his brother into a fierce embrace. I thought you were dead, he said, voice breaking. We all did. Aiden gripped him back just as hard. Guess I didn't get the memo. When they finally separated, Alex's gaze flicked to Isara, who stood a few paces back, tall, poised, radiant in her calm defiance. And who's this? Alex asked, his tone cautious. Dr. Isara Nix, Aiden said. She's the reason I'm still breathing. Azuran Alex noted, his eyes narrowing. You brought one here? You know what kind of diplomatic storm that causes. Trust me, Aiden said dryly, she's the least of your problems. Alex studied them both for a moment, then sighed and gestured toward the corridor. Come on, there's a lot you need to see. The city was breathtaking. From the command shuttle that carried them through the upper district, Aiden could see miles of architecture that seemed to blend Earth nostalgia with alien efficiency, arcology, towers that rose like mountains of glass, and steel fusion reactors pulsing with soft light, and hover trains gliding along magnetic rails. This is New Haven, Alex said. Our crown jewel, self-sustaining, fully independent from Earth command. 200,000 people with all born here. Aiden leaned forward. You built all this without alien help. Alex smiled faintly. We had some help, Azurian tech, mostly medical and energy systems. The rest we reverse engineered. Reverse engineered? Isara's tone turned sharp. Without authorization from the High Council. Alex didn't even blink. Authorization stopped mattering when Earth realized we'd outgrown their leash. Aiden frowned. You're talking about independence. I'm talking about survival, Alex corrected. The Council restricts propulsion tech. Earth Command restricts exploration. New Haven's the only place free of both. The shuttle descended toward a gleaming citadel at the city's center, a fortress of light and steel that pulsed with the same faint energy Aiden had felt aboard the Prometheus. Impressive, Isara said, though her voice carried unease. Wait till you see inside, Alex replied. The Citadel's core was a massive research hub. Dozens of scientists and soldiers moved between consoles, holographic displays, and containment units that glowed with dimensional energy. "What is this place?" Aiden asked. "Our answer to the incursions," Alex said. "5 years ago, we started detecting rifts, holes in reality, ships disappearing, colonies going dark. Then we realized the readings matched what happened to the Prometheus 20 years ago." Aiden's blood ran cold. The entity. Alex nodded grimly. "Exactly. Whatever you encountered out there, it's trying to cross over." Isara stepped closer to one of the holograms, scanning the patterns. "These quantum distortions. They're identical to the residual energy from the entity's realm." Aiden looked at his brother. "You knew this, and you still built your colony here." "We didn't have a choice," Alex said. "This world's position makes it the perfect anchor for stabilizing a dimensional barrier. We've been constructing one." He gestured to the far end of the lab. A massive device stood there, 3 concentric rings spinning around a pulsing core of blue light. Aiden's eyes widened. "That looks like the Prometheus's dimensional drive," Alex finished. "Recovered, repaired, and repurposed." Isara's eyes went wide. "You're building a barrier powered by FTL resonance. That's insanely dangerous." "It's the only thing that can work," Alex said. "But there's a problem." Aiden crossed his arms. "Let me guess you need a key." Alex met his gaze. "You." The word hit like a blow. "What do you mean, me?" "The drive was designed with your neural signature. The interface won't activate without your bio-imprint. So plug me in," Aiden said. "You've got the equipment." Alex hesitated. "It's not that simple. The process would link your mind directly to the drive's dimensional matrix. You'd have to stabilize the frequency manually." Meaning you could die," Alex said softly. "Or worse, become what you're fighting." The room fell silent. Aiden looked down at his hands, at the faint glowing veins that still pulsed under his skin. "You think I haven't already started?" Isara stepped forward. "No, there has to be another way. His neural network isn't stable enough for..." Alex turned to her. "Dr. Nix, we don't have time for moral debates. Every hour the rifts grow stronger. One colony was wiped out last month. 300 people gone." Isara's jaw tightened. "And you'd sacrifice one man to stop it." "If that man is my brother," Alex said, "then yes." The tension between them hung heavy. Finally, Aiden exhaled. "Alex, if I do this, it's not for Earth. It's not for the Council. It's for the people here, the ones who didn't ask to be part of this war." Alex nodded slowly. "That's all I could ask." That night, they gave Aiden and Isara private quarters in one of the colony's upper towers. The room overlooked the glowing city lights, shimmering like constellations on the ground. Aiden stood by the window, lost in thought. He's changed. The kid who used to take apart toy ships in our garage, now he runs a planet. Isara approached quietly, her bare feet silent on the metallic floor. "Time changes everyone. But for you, it stopped." He looked at her reflection in the glass. "And for you?" She smiled faintly. "I changed the moment I met you." Aiden turned the light from the window, tracing her azure skin, the glow of her markings soft and rhythmic. "You could have stayed on the station," he said. "You didn't have to follow me here." "I did," she said, simply, "because wherever you go, the entity follows. And because..." He waited. "Because I can't imagine a universe where you face it alone." He closed the distance between them and took her hand. "You know, 20 years ago, I thought humanity was the center of everything. That we were the explorers, the brave ones, the ones who made first contact." And now she asked. Now he said, "I think we were the ones being contacted all along." For a long moment, they just stood there, 2 beings from opposite worlds, staring at a new dawn that might also be their last. The barrier chamber was vast, a cathedral of light metal and trembling energy. The concentric rings at its heart rotated slowly, each one humming with frequencies beyond human hearing. It looked less like a machine and more like a god trying to remember its shape. Aiden stood before it clad in a reinforced neural interface suit that shimmered with threads of blue light. Cables connected his body to the core like veins feeding an artificial heart. Beside him, Isara adjusted the calibration nodes on her wrist, her silver hair catching the glow of the reactor. "You're sure about this?" she asked softly. Aiden smiled, wary-wry and unmistakably human. "Nope. But I've made peace with bad ideas." From the control booth, Alex's voice crackled over comms. "Once we start, there's no abort. Your brain will be directly linked to the dimensional matrix. If you sense anything wrong, signal us immediately. Define wrong, Aiden said dryly. When you stop sounding like my brother Alex replied. Isara stepped closer, her turquoise eyes serious. You don't have to do this alone. The interface was built for two. My neural pattern can act as a stabilizer. Aiden shook his head. It could kill you. So could not doing it, she countered. You told me once that humans adapt. Let me prove Azurans can too. He hesitated, then nodded. All right, but if I start glowing, run. Her lips curved. If you start glowing, I'm glowing with you. They took their places on twin platforms. The hum of the chamber deepened as Dr. Armstrong, the project's lead scientist, initiated the final sequence. The rings accelerated, filling the air with shimmering distortion. Neural interface online, she announced. Calibration begins in 3, 2, 1. A surge of light connected Aiden and Azara. Their consciousnesses collided not violently, but like two flames merging into one larger blaze. He felt her eyeing precise, elegant, curious. Beneath her discipline, there was warmth, fear, and fierce devotion. She felt him too. The chaos of human thought, messy and unpredictable, but pulsing with raw willpower. We're linked, her voice echoed inside his head. Guess this counts as getting serious, he replied. She laughed softly in his thoughts, and then the barrier awakened. A wave of energy rippled outward, folding the air like molten glass. The dimensional frequency sang through Aiden's body, each tone resonating with something ancient in his cells. His vision flooded with fractal geometry, impossible shapes that twisted and bloomed across his mind's eye. Then he felt it. The entity. It was no longer a voice. It was a presence, vast, patient, curious. It pressed against his consciousness like a tide against a shore. You return, it whispered. The flame persists. You again? Aiden thought grimly. What do you want? To understand. Images flashed, galaxies, collapsing civilizations, flickering out like candles, and something reaching across the void, not in malice, but in longing. Isara's voice cut through the storm. Aiden, stay with me. It's testing you. He gritted his teeth. I'm fine. You fear extinction, the entity said. You fear irrelevance, yet you burn brighter for it. That's what we do, Aiden replied. We burn, we break, we rebuild. That's humanity. We have seen your kind before, the entity murmured. Flames that consumed worlds then turned to ash. Why should this spark survive? Aiden's mind flared, memories flooding back. The Prometheus, his crew's laughter, their screams, the decision to initiate the cryostasis while the ship tore apart around them. He saw them dying because they wanted to explore, because curiosity was worth the risk. He met the entity's endless gaze. Because we don't stop. Because the void doesn't get the last word. The entity's awareness shifted, curious now, almost admiring. Then show us, little flame. Show us what you are. The connection deepened violently. Aiden felt himself unraveling, memories peeling away his mind, dissolving into starlight. Isar's thoughts surged toward him like a lifeline. Aiden, focus on me. Follow my voice. He latched onto her presence. Through their link, he saw her memories. Her world beneath twin moons. Her people's sterile peace. Her quiet loneliness in the clinical perfection of Azuran life. And then her finding him a chaotic, broken human who laughed in the face of annihilation. That's why you fascinate me, she whispered. Because you fight even when you shouldn't. Aiden reached back, their consciousnesses intertwining tighter. The barrier pulsed around them, echoing their synchronized heartbeats. Calibration at 80%, Dr. Armstrong's voice shouted over comms. Dimensional rifts spiking, the entities reacting. Alex's voice cut intense. Aiden, you've got to stabilize it. I'm trying, he grunted. You cannot contain us, the entity thundered. We are the void between thought. We are the silence that remembers. Aiden roared back, then remember this. He poured everything into the link, every emotion, every memory, every ounce of human defiance. The pain, the love, the humor, the stubborn refusal to kneel before anything. The entity recoiled. For the first time it felt. What is this ache? It's being alive, Aiden said. It's what you've been watching for eternity and never understanding. Isara joined him, her voice a silver cord through the darkness. And now you know it through us. The barrier roared to life. The ring spun faster than the eye could follow, blurring into solid light. The entity's form, vast and incomprehensible, shuddered as the fabric of space began to seal. "We will remember you," it whispered, not in malice but in reverence. Little flames burning against eternity. And then it was gone. The barrier stabilized. The light dimmed. Aiden collapsed to his knees, gasping. The cables disconnected, automatically releasing him. Across the chamber, Isara fell too trembling, but alive. From the control room, Alex shouted, "The rifts are closing. It's working." Dr. Armstrong's voice was incredulous. "Dimensional frequency sealed. The entity's signal is dispersing. We did it." But Aiden barely heard them. He crawled to Isara and pulled her into his arms. Her eyes fluttered open, still glowing faintly. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he corrected. "You held me together." She smiled weakly, always. Alex burst into the chamber moments later, still in his uniform, his face streaked with sweat in disbelief. "You're insane," he said breathlessly. "Both of you. But you saved us all." Aiden laughed hoarsely. "You say that like it's new." 3 days later, the sky over New Haven shimmered with the faint aurora of the barrier's energy field. The colony was safe, the rifts were gone, and for the first time in years, no one woke to the sound of alarms. Aiden stood on the observation deck watching the twin suns rise. The wind was warm, carrying the scent of alien trees. Isara joined him wearing a light silver robe instead of her medical uniform. Her glow had faded to a gentle luminescence like moonlight against the dawn. "Your body's stabilizing," she said, scanning him with a handheld device. "The entity's influence is receding." "Good," Aiden said. "I was getting tired of hearing voices in my head." She smiled softly. "You might miss it one day." He turned toward her. "You stay." She raised an eyebrow. "You plan to get rid of me?" "Not a chance," he said. "But your council's probably screaming for your head." "Let them," she said, stepping closer. "I've found something more valuable than their approval." He tilted his head. "Oh yeah, what's that?" "Proof that humanity deserves its place among the stars," she said. "And one particularly reckless specimen who reminds me why." He chuckled, then looked up at the shimmering barrier. "So what now?" "Now," as Sarah said, looping her arms around his neck, "we build something new together." Aiden kissed her softly, and for once, the universe didn't try to tear itself apart. That night, as the colony celebrated under the twin moons, Aiden and Azara slipped away to a quiet terrace overlooking the city. Alex found them there, two silhouettes against the glow of humanity's newest dawn. "You planning to stick around?" Alex asked. Aiden nodded. "For a while. Someone has to teach these kids how not to blow themselves up." Alex smirked. "You mean you?" "Exactly." He clapped his brother on the shoulder, then glanced at Izara. "You know, I spent 20 years trying to imagine what kind of woman would keep up with him. I didn't think of interstellar bioluminescent doctor." Isara smiled. "Few do." When Alex left, Aiden leaned against the railing, watching the stars shimmer beyond the barrier. "He's good at this," he said softly. "Leading, building, surviving." "Runs in the family," Azara murmured. He looked at her. "No, it runs in our species." For a long moment they stood there in silence, the weight of survival and rebirth between them. Above them the barrier pulsed faintly, a heartbeat of light. Part human, part Azuran, born from defiance and love. Aiden reached for her hand. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to think the universe didn't care about us." "And now?" she asked. He smiled. "Now I think it's watching, waiting for us to surprise it again." She squeezed his hand. "Then let's give it a show." The stars flared beyond the barrier, 1,000 silent witnesses to the first true alliance between worlds forged not by politics, but by two beings who refused to surrender. And somewhere far beyond the veil, in a dimension of endless dark, something vast stirred once more. Not in hunger, but in wonder. The flame persists,